Jimmy Garoppolo is morphine. He's not he does not fix the problem. He's not the guy that comes in and makes you all better. He's not the antidote, but good God, does he make you feel good until you find out what's wrong. So Jimmy Garoppolo is that guy, like you said, he's going to come in, and for the next 3 years, the Raiders can finally just go, okay, now we can attack our weak spots. We can go after our defense. We don't have to worry about good quarterback play. We don't have to worry about the fans getting on us and the owner getting on us and battling Mahomes every single year. Like Jimmy Garoppolo, like you said, he's going to give out some good, he's going to give some good battles. He's going to make Mahomes and Herbert fight. I know what Russell Wilson and Sean Payton are doing, but until I can see them play again, I'm not worrying about them too much. But those two teams are going to be really, really tough to beat, just purely based on quarterback talent alone. Jimmy Garoppolo gives the opportunity for now Josh McDaniels to deep dive into the organization, the owners and the GMs to dive into the organization. And then finally, when Jimmy G's tenure is up, when it's like, okay, hey, we're coming to that last year of our contract with you, maybe the Raiders go out and they draft a quarterback. Maybe they draft somebody in the second or the third round and they say, look, you're not ready to play yet, but we like what you saw. Learn from Jimmy, who's going to play out the rest of his contract, kind of like a Jordan Love situation. You're definitely not ready yet, but when the time comes, you're going to be handed the keys to this franchise and say, look, lead us to the promised land. Jimmy is 1 second, without question, the number one bridge quarterback in the NFL, and that's not even disputable.
100% he is. 100% he is.
From the AirTech Heating Studios, a Born to Win media production. Welcome to the resurrection of Say It Like You See It.
Just went through some technical difficulties there. So welcome in. This is Say It Like You See It. I am Trace the Moose Moustakis live from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, the heart of Packer country. We seem to be experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. Not entirely sure if we were live there for the last 15-ish minutes, but if you're just joining us, welcome in. It's great to have you in on a Tuesday. We are talking about NFL free agency. We just got done talking about Jimmy Garoppolo signing to the Raiders. Some breaking news here. Not only is Darren Waller being traded to the New York Giants, but Taylor Heinicke has now just been traded to the Atlanta Falcons. So Taylor Heinicke is now a member of the Atlanta Falcons. We wish him the best of luck. They'll most likely still going to go out and try and draft a quarterback and have him sit. Maybe a Will Levis, maybe a Hendon Hooker. We're not entirely sure yet, but we do know that there is at least some stability, a little bit more than Marcus Mariota in Atlanta. All right, moving on to our next topic, and this is how we started the week. The Chicago Bears have just exploded in free agency so far, signing 4 players. Not only that, but also with the massive haul that they received from Carolina. So I'm going to start with that. Quinn, looking at this massive trade, so not only did we get the 9th overall pick, we got a 2023, so this year's draft, a 2nd overall pick, next year's first round pick, and then a 2025 2nd round pick, I believe, in addition to DJ Moore. Now, I loved this haul. I loved the trade. I loved everything we did about it. You were a little bit more skeptical. Not saying you didn't love the trade, but you weren't nearly as high on it as me. Let's pick your brain a little bit. What about this trade didn't you love? What did you like? What did you see from it? What are you expecting here from Chicago?
So the thing for me is like when people talk about, oh, they got 2 firsts. It's like, no, they had a pick swap and 3 picks. Like everyone talks about trades when it talks about draft picks, when it's done in that same year. It's like if you're trading draft picks, if I'm going from the 1st pick to the 9th pick, I don't count that as receiving that draft pick. Like if you're giving me, like if we're just swapping places and then you're going to give me other picks, I don't count that as a second first. The way that I look at this trade is the Bears got 1 first round pick and 2 seconds and DJ Moore. Now, DJ Moore is a solid receiver. I think DJ Moore is a now certified 1 for the Bears. He has 2 good number 2s in Chase Claypool and Mooney. And then you've got Cole Kmet and, a top 10-ish tight end, like fringe 10. He's right there
best,
in there.
He's the best ascending tight end. I'll give him that. Like he's the most ascending tight end.
We don't know exactly what we're going to get from him, but at the end of the day, he's a solid tight end. So the Bears receiving room got better by bringing in a true one, because the Bears have had a team that has been filled with twos and threes. So by giving the team an actual one, you now have multiple twos and good threes as backups. So it's going to work better. Justin Fields now has no excuses left. Like the offensive line, the way that PFF grades, like they actually watch film and break it down based on, hey, pass situations, run situations, what combos, your sacks, not sacks, his fault, their fault, miscommunications, missed issues, not checks, not reads. The Bears fell in the middle of the pack. Joe Burrow made it to the Super Bowl being sacked the most and had the worst offensive line. At the end of the day, his falls in the middle of the pack. That's not really much of an excuse. Now has good enough receivers and a receiving core. He's always had a good run game. There's now no excuses left on offense for Justin Fields. If the Bears offense sputters and isn't good, it's now a direct result to Justin Fields. He has been completely left out on his own of, if the Bears offense is not good, it is on you. So that piece I like. I like the DJ Moore piece and bringing him in. But my issue with it, we're still not exactly close to the draft. Like we are close, but we're not close. The only thing that pick does is it can get more valuable. And I think what polls kind of reacted to is Bryce Young measured way smaller than what people thought, is the fact that he's smaller than Kyler Murray. Like, hey, historically short, historically light. Like, and didn't participate. So it's like, hey, glad you didn't do anything in the combine, because if you really would have, then what would have happened? Like if he had a poor throwing day, or if he ran something slow on the 40, or he did something slow or bad, he's instantly just like plummet, gone. Like all his credibility gone. And some of that has started to go away. And since there's not a true like number one set guy, because it's like, well, you can make an argument for CJ because like he's the bigger, stronger guy, but he's not as, polished as a quarterback as Bryce is, but Bryce's size and how long can he stay? And then at the same time, it's like, well, Will Levis, like we think he's a smart guy and he makes good plays, but he also makes some really dumb plays. And so he can't exactly be the guy. And then it's like, well, we're looking at Anthony Richardson and like, well, he's just a phenomenal athlete. And it's like, oh, he's such a great, but it's like, how talented is his arm? How accurate is he with throwing of the football? He's not a natural thrower. He doesn't have a great motion. He's not established enough yet as a passer of the football to be successful. So it's like, that is a real work in progress. If you've got 2-3 years and you've got some great coaching, yeah, heck yeah, bring him in. But the problem is there's too many teams in this league, the Bears for one of them, where it's like, hey, you bring in a young kind of semi-talented guy that needs some work. And it's like, if you don't have the good coaching staff, you're never going to get the benefit out of them. So it's like, you don't know what potential you have from it. And so now it's like the Bears should have yes, I get there's not a true prospect, but sitting on the number one pick going into the draft gives you a lot more leverage on every other team. It's like the Panthers are vying for it. The Texans are vying for it. The Colts are vying for it. The Falcons were vying for it. That was 4 teams. Now, yes, there's 4 quarterbacks that are available that can go to all those 4 teams, but all those 4 teams like different guys. All you have to do is tell one of them. I mean, the Bears got finessed in 2017 for a single pick for Mitch Trubisky. And so for this situation, it's like, so you mean to tell me that you traded the number 1 pick a month away from the draft and all you got from it was DJ Moore and 3 picks? Like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, you mean to tell me you got 3 picks and DJ Moore for a first overall pick in an effect of 4 teams are fighting to get their guy right now? I guarantee you can call the Texans and say, hey, I don't know. Like, we think that you guys like both Bryce and CJ, but we've got 2 teams that are saying they like both of them. So I think we should move. You could trade back to 2. You can then at 2 go, hey, let's go to 4. And then from 4, go to 9, go to 7, go to the Bears could have moved back multiple times and they never even acknowledge. And like,
yeah,
if you're not going to move back twice, like if you're going to go all the way to 9, you better give me more than 3 picks.
Yeah.
You better give, like, I understand DJ Moore is good and solid, but like, I'm sorry, like DJ Moore is not worth that first overall pick. Like, we would not draft a guy that's DJ Moore quality talent at 9. So
yeah,
that's the miss part of it. It's like, I like it. Yes, it's solid. It's a good grade. We came out in the plus end, but I'm like, at the same time, the value of that number 1 pick is still growing in value as you get closer to the draft. It's like you gave all your leverage away.
All right. So this kind of reminds me of a situation that I was in when I was in college. So there was a girl that I had a massive crush on my sophomore year of college. And I remember going out and asking her out right after she got out of a relationship, right? This was like a month or 2 months after she got out of a relationship. I was so eager to take her out, show her a good time, and she finally gave it to me. She would complain to me all about the bad things that her ex would do and all the horrible things that he would say. And God, he sucked. He was terrible to me. I just want a guy that treats me well. And I went out and I treated her so well. I love bombed her. And she got way too like, whoa, dude, too much, too quick. I think this is kind of the situation that the new Bears management is in. They're so eager to show all of the Bears fans, we are not like the last regime. We're not those guys that go out and make those stupid fucking picks. We're not guys that are going to get fleeced for Mitch Trubisky. We're smart. We're calculated. We make good moves that makes everybody happy. We treat you right. And it's like, you got to pump the brakes, right? You don't have to do it so fast. Like, we trust you. And here's the thing. All of the moves that Poles has made, including the free agency signings of Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards and Gabe Davis from Tennessee. And then we just picked up another defensive lineman from Tennessee as well. I forget his name. I think his name is Walker, I believe is his last name. I don't know his first name. He had a breakout year with the Titans last year. Run stuffer for sure. Added 7 sacks. Had a very, very solid season. All of the moves that he's made are good moves. No one is disputing this. No one looks at it like, hey, you guys are making the wrong plays. Everyone is like, good pick, good signing. But could you have gotten more? We don't know now. We can't tell. So could we? It's a very up in the air question. Do we know for sure that we could have gotten more? No. Do we know that we couldn't have gotten more? Also no. So it's one of those moves where I'm looking at it like Poles basically has said, we are not going to be like the last guys. We need to show this team, this organization, this city, these fans that we are in it to win it and win it now. And the reality of the situation is, while all of the moves that you made are going to make the Bears better, you're still kind of jumping the gun. And there are times when you just need to go, you don't need to try so hard. Just chill, sit on it, relax, mull it over.
And to some credit, it's like, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. And like, I get that. And so I think that's kind of what this trade was, is I think there were some teams that maybe were getting like a little skittish on, I don't know, like, I guess we could take like Will or, Richardson or this guy, like, because it's enough of like average talent at the quarterback position for some of these teams, like they can kind of interchange some of these, which I think is what happened in the situation with the Bears in 2017. Like it was that same level thing of everyone kind of thought like, I don't know, like, are any of these guys going to be transformational? Like, who's the guy? And
Patty was.
Well, no one wrote Patty. I mean, I watched Patty play live in college twice, and I tell you, it was electric. As an NFL like quarterback person, it's, hey, the dude's wildly talented, but is going to make a bunch of dumb throws. And that's exactly what he did at Tech, which is now what he does in the NFL. But the dumb throws now look a lot better because he's making the same throws
and
to like actual. Well, and he's throwing to equal level talent. Like he's not playing at Texas Tech anymore.
Right.
The 7th best talent in the conference. Like, and we're talking in the Big 12. Come on now.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, I get what you're saying. There's no defense. It's cupcake defense.
And that was the Lamar situation. And so I like it for Poles. Like I like what he's doing. Like I like that he's out there and, making these moves and trying to do the right thing. But I'm like, I get it. Like we had the number 1 pick and you were so happy. It's like, yeah, number 1 receiver. Heck yeah. And 3 picks. Let's do it. And, pick swap, 3 picks, DJ Moore. Cool. We got our stuff. And so to a degree, like, I also think he kind of figured it out because in realistic terms, now what do the Bears need to do with the draft? And so I was kind of thinking about this in the same regard for like kind of like what the Jets situation. It's like, okay, if you're switching from Zach Wilson, and now you put in Aaron Rodgers. It's like, if you believe that the only reason that you didn't win more games is because of Zach Wilson, and if you feel that Aaron Rodgers comes in is better than Zach Wilson was, and like what he'll give you, then that's the perfect trade to make. And like, now I understand why the Jets want him so bad, because the Jets feel like they fill all the other holes, and they feel like the other holes that they have are minuscule enough that they can fill in the draft, or they can fill with a guy in free agency, or they can plug and play a guy in, or we'll be good here. And that's now, I think, what the Bears are going to do, because Poles essentially got 3 picks because this pick swap thing. The DJ Moore issue solved a lot of the Bears' like main issues on offense, because it's like, well, we're not really questioning our running backs. We understand we can get better on the offensive line, but there was a couple injuries. So it's like, it was decent. It was okay.
Right.
It truly falls on like, hey, what do we think about Justin Fields?
Correct.
Because the defense and the moves that have been made now with like the certain signings, I wouldn't even think like the Bears are really going to try to draft a bunch of defensive guys. Like, I don't know who they want to draft now. Like,
all right. So
offensive line backups.
So
line backups.
Let me tell you what they're going to address. And I was just going to get into this as soon as you were done. So last year, if you remember, what were the major gripes from the media, from the fans, from everybody who watches Chicago Bears football? What were the major gripes about last season? Our defense sucks. Couldn't stop a runny nose. Justin Fields needs to take a step forward, be a better passer, because we can see he's an amazing athlete, and our wide receivers aren't talented enough. Okay, so now we've addressed the wide receiver problem. Check that box. Now we have like a B level receiving core. I don't think anybody would dispute that. We have a very solid B level receiving core, with Mooney shifting to his true 2 and Claypool being like a kind of hybrid 2-3, and Kmet with, we believe he's only going to take a step up. So now you've got 4 really solid. I'm not saying game changing. I'm not saying they're electric. They're not the Miami Dolphins, but they're very solid. So we've checked that box. Our biggest problem on defense was we didn't have anybody that could get to the quarterback. So we had a bunch of injuries last year. We had a bunch of rookies. So now we've made a ton of moves on the defensive end. Tremaine Edmonds, check. TJ Edwards, who is kind of like a poor man's Roquan Smith, check. We added that Walker guy on the defensive line, check. Now the only thing you really need is a true pass rusher. You need a guy like Tyree Wilson. You need a guy like Will Anderson, although you're not going to get him. You need a guy that specifically you just say, your job is to get and hit the quarterback. That's it. So once the Bears get that, you're right. There's not a lot of things that you really need. They're probably going to clean up the offensive line here or there, maybe get a backup center, maybe get, an outside back, or not an outside back, an outside linebacker. Maybe you add a little bit of depth at safety, just little pieces here and there to make sure that, hey, just in case one of our guys gets injured, we're not completely screwed at one position. But for the most part, you're exactly right. Now the onus is on Justin Fields. The entire GM and the entire front office said, okay, cleaned up the wide receiving core. Offensive line's going to be better when the injuries subside. And it wasn't horrible to begin with. So it's going to be better there. And we've cleaned up your defense for you. Now you've got no excuses. Now you either go out there and you win and you make it to the playoffs, or we draft your replacement. Your choice. So now I truly believe that this is, and I can perfectly cap it out with this. There have been inside discussions from NBC Sports Chicago and the Bears front office, and every single one of them has said, we want Justin to take the leap that Jalen Hurts took from year 2 to year 3. And even though that may not be, the top 5 quarterback, Jalen Hurts took a gargantuan leap from year 2 to year 3. Justin Fields needs to be around 25 passing touchdowns. He needs to be sub 10 interceptions, and he needs to be completing about 65% of his passes, and he needs to be averaging over 200 yards a game. And also he needs to win. So there are things from a statistical standpoint he needs to fix, and there's stuff obviously from a winning the game standpoint that he needs to fix. that I don't think he was ready for last year. But you're absolutely right. Now is the time. This year 3 is the most pivotal of his career. If he doesn't get it done, he's no longer a Chicago Bear.
Yeah, I think what would be smart for the Bears is in that 61st pick that they just got, if Hendon Hooker is on the board, to draft Hendon Hooker. 100%. 61st pick, if Hendon Hooker is on the board, you draft him.
Well,
plain and simple.
So I agree with you, but I also disagree, and here's why. I agree with you because you're right. It's insurance for the Bears. You're in a no-lose situation. From an organizational standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Go out, get a guy that maybe isn't ready to play day one, and say, look, you're going to sit back, you're going to learn the system, your insurance this year. Maybe you don't even play as a snap for us if Justin works. But if he doesn't, you better get ready. Like you're going to be the guy. You're the next guy up, right? That's what the NFL is always about. The next guy up, next guy up. It's your turn. But here's where I would say that can get a little dicey. And I'm not saying Justin Fields is anything like Aaron Rodgers. Don't get this twisted. But when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, albeit in the first round, which is insane, Aaron Rodgers took it very, very hard. And he got very petty. He got very emotional, acted like a child, a petulant child, and basically said, you know what? No, fuck you. I'm going to go out and win back-to-back MVPs. And not only that, I'm going to make you think I'm retiring every single year. The last thing you want to do is when you give full faith into a quarterback is to go out and draft their replacement. I don't think this is the year to do it. But here's what I would say. If by Thanksgiving next year, if Justin is already slumping and doesn't look anything like we want him to look this year, then I think you have to get on some calls and start shopping Justin Fields before the season ends. And then maybe get a veteran guy in there that's going to be on a free agency deal, or you start looking around and saying who's available for the draft next year.
See, and that's why I don't feel that, like, everyone talks about Caleb Williams. Like, if he's the guaranteed, he's going number one. I watched him play at OU and I watched him play in a few games at USC. I see nothing that's transformational that everyone is like, oh my gosh, he's a can't miss guy. I'm like, I see a bunch of issues with him. Like, starting with, he's not that big of a guy. Like, plain and simple, number one, let's start there. And
he's a slightly bigger Kyler Murray.
And
that's who Kyler reminds me of.
But he's not that fast.
Well, neither is Kyler. Kyler's quick. He's not 40 fast. He's scrambling, his feet shifty,
Yeah. So, but for the Bears with the Hendon thing, hey, our two backups are terrible. Hendon Hooker is better than both of our backups. Justin, I don't care if you're going to bitch and moan. Go out and win football games. That's the end of the day. Yeah. I don't care what this is. Your job is to win football games. If you don't win football games, guess what? Those people are going to take your job. I don't care about drafting the replace. You think I care about Justin Fields' feelings when I'm trying to run a multi-billion-dollar business? No.
It's fair.
His feelings can go out the window because he's already talked shit about playing in Chicago. And it's cold and it's kind of windy and I don't know and I don't like it. I don't care. Like,
I think that was taken a little out of context. I think
because it might have been, it might not have been. But for a guy who grew up in Georgia and played in warm weather his entire career until he then went to Ohio State after he was at Georgia, he doesn't like being in the cold. I don't blame him. Playing football in the cold sucks. There's nothing around it. Playing football when it's cold and windy and negative temperatures and snow and wet, it is brutal. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. But for a guy who plays in Chicago, that better be your MO. You better be the most hyped up guy for, oh boy, it's going to be 7 degrees, windy with some snow. Like, that's the issue of playing in Chicago with an open field. Like, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
And for a guy that doesn't enjoy that and doesn't want to be in that and his style of play, there's no way he can be the guy. And that's why he can go out, he can play fantastic, he can do all that. But at the end of the day, even if he does play fantastic and the Bears make a playoff run next year, okay, that's fine. Have Hendon sit for 2 years. You think he's going to get any worse?
Listen, I think you make a strong point in the sense of, there's got to be some tough love. Oh, you can't go out and draft my replacement, or you guys drafted a quarterback. Okay.
How about you're out of the building now?
Keep your job. You want to be the start. You are the starting quarterback. Keep your job. You want to prove us wrong? Shut us up. Win.
Yeah, you've won what, 7 games in the last 2 years for our organization. If you want to complain about how we drafted a guy in what would be the second round of, hey, why'd you guys draft, my guy? I thought you guys want to build around me. Yeah, you've won 7 games in the last 2 years. If you don't win this year, your ass is out of the building, plain and simple.
And to be fair, I think a lot of, and I'm going to go back to the Justin, not wanting to play in the cold. That was on Pardon My Take, and it is a satirical podcast. It is a satirical little Barstool Sports podcast. It's not meant to be taken super seriously. I do think Justin doesn't like playing in the cold. You're right. He's a Georgia kid. He's used to the warm weather. He's used to the dome and the turf, and I get it. Totally understand. But Justin does fit the mold for a Chicago quarterback. Justin's 6'3", 220 pounds.
I'm not doubting his athleticism.
No. I'm not talking about his athleticism. I'm talking about he's not a small guy. He has an above average arm, right? We all agree there. Like he can sling it. So you can whip the ball through the air in the cold. The only thing that Justin doesn't like is that it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because he's not used to it. But here's the thing. I think when he at the end of the day, the locker room really loves Justin. So whether he is saying it on a podcast and it's being taken out of context or whatever, I think at the end of the day, Justin is that guy that gets up for the game and he says, look, this is our team now. And I think the last 2 years, it's been really, really hard for him to do so because of the lack of talent around him. There's a lot of people in the Bears organization that truly believe that the reason that Justin wasn't nearly as good last year is because it was so hard for him every single week, knowing that he's the most athletic player on the field, to go out and make all of these plays after play after play, and everyone asking him, make play after play after play, and him saying, can I just get a little bit of help?
Yeah, but then that's that same conversation, and I think that's a different thing that we can pull up film and show that he makes a lot of really bad decisions. But that's a separate conversation on a different thing. I still think in terms of the draft, it's like, hey, being smart going forward as a franchise, like Bill Belichick used to draft quarterbacks basically every other year for the majority of the time that Tom was there. Like, that's just what you do as a good franchise. You are constantly putting good guys in the building. It spurs competition. You can leave it up to Justin and saying, hey, you're the guy. Hey, we want you. Just go ahead. You're not having to worry about it. We need better backups anyways. If you go down, we have a guy that can continue, so that way you can make us back, and like you can build it still around him. And if he wants to be a drama queen about it, then he can be a drama queen and he can take his 7 wins somewhere else.
All right. Well, speaking of the draft, going on to our final segment very briefly, now that the combine is over and we've seen a majority of the quarterbacks throw, and I say a majority because not all of them have, we have kind of some grades, or some grades at least that I've given. I watched every single quarterback throw there. Here's what I'll say. If there wasn't clarity about what each quarterback brought to the table, if there were any questions, we now know exactly where each quarterback lies. And I can give you pretty much my exact comp for each quarterback that's going to be going out. And the topic is, who is Carolina going to be drafting with that number 1 overall pick? We know it's a quarterback. Frank Reich has kind of dropped the hint. The owner of the Panthers said, we need to establish in our future, obviously meaning quarterback. So here's what I'll say. I'll start with my grades and I'll turn it over to you. Anthony Richardson is the most like Cam Newton without having the Cam Newton productivity in college that I've ever seen. Big, strong, fast. I mean, the dude runs a 4. What did he run? A 4.3 or a 4.4? Like the dude is.
I think it was 4.44. I think he was all 4s across the board.
Well, even so, that's lightning fast for a guy his size and a quarterback. He is Cam Newton with the raw athletic talent of somebody like Michael Vick, but not, it's not polished at all. It's something you have to mold, right? So I would say he is kind of like a Cam Newton or a Lamar Jackson coming out, where it's like you're not ready quite yet, but everything is there. Will Levis is the closest thing to Jay Cutler I think I've ever seen in my entire life, with a slightly bigger penchant of actually wanting to play football. He has a slightly better drive, and I say slightly as the world's largest understatement. But Will Levis has a freaking cannon for an arm. I watched him throw, and it is so Jay Cutler like. It is so effortless. He just loads it back and he just flicks it through, and that ball is just, I mean, it just, it is so unbelievably strong. I loved his day. I loved his throwing session. But also, with that being said, he's not very mobile. You're looking at a guy, he's big, he's strong, he's got a great mind, as Jay Cutler did too. Jay Cutler was really smart. People don't give him credit for that. He just didn't like to practice or try hard. Levis gives that effort and that smart and that big arm. He's going to be a lot like Jay. He has, there's some Brett Favre qualities there. The thing that I worry about with Will is he going to be one of those guys that has to have the pieces around him in order to succeed? Is he that big armed guy that can only succeed, with equal or above talent around him? I look at Bryce Young as probably the most naturally gifted thrower of the football, throws the prettiest football, probably has the best skill set, in terms of mobility, arm strength, the ability to escape the pocket. So pocket mobility. Bryce Young definitely has the entire package. Obviously, the size is a concern. And then I look at CJ Stroud, and I look at CJ Stroud as kind of like Mac Jones was a few years ago. And that is, he's the most NFL ready to play right now. I had my doubts about CJ Stroud. I thought his throwing day was phenomenal. He's got a good arm, not a great one. Got good pocket presence, not great one. He's got good feet, not great feet. I mean, size is there. Athletic ability is there. But nothing wows you. Nothing is outstanding. Everything is just really good. So CJ Stroud is going to be the plug and play quarterback of this draft. He's going to be the guy that comes out, and to be completely honest, if I had to bet any money on any quarterback winning rookie of the year, it would be CJ Stroud. With that being said, is he going to be this guy that is the leader of men, the franchise QB, the next guy for the next 10 years? No, I don't think so. There's just nothing too special about him. He's just another one of those good college prospects. And you're going to see some games where CJ Stroud looks great, and you're going to see other games where CJ Stroud looks kind of average. In my opinion, he's going to have a career a lot like Tyrod Taylor, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have a bad NFL career. So I think, after looking at all of these guys throw and all of these guys perform and their answers given, I truly think that they're going to go after a guy that is the most NFL ready, because Carolina's in a unique position. They can win the division right now with how bad that division is. They can. They've got a pretty solid roster. Not great, not bad. It's right in the middle. They just need the quarterback. They need a guy in there that's going to come in and say, it's my team day one. I'm giving the juice to the franchise. I'm ready to start. And I think that guy, CJ Stroud, I think they go with CJ.
I think that's, the best option. I think, to that same credit, you touched on the Cam Newton thing, and if like some of the people and the fans would be on board with bringing in Anthony, but I'd agree. I think CJ throws and is the most ready. He looked the most together at the combine. Like there was a lot, just a handful of throws that Richardson just looked uncomfortable. Like he looked like he was just it was almost like you hand an athlete a football and you tell him to throw it, and it's like he's gonna throw it weird, but like because he's an athlete, like he makes it work.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Richardson is. Is like he was a dude that probably shouldn't have ever played quarterback, but it's like, yeah, I'm kind of better than everyone else, and like I just kind of make it work. And so let's just get this thing rocking and rolling. And for him, like he got it there, and now he's going forward from there. And it's one that's like, okay, like we're cool, like that sounds good. But I'd agree. CJ Stroud for the team. If he goes to the Panthers, I think that's a good situation in dealing with a good head coach. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that shouldn't keep him from getting, an extension contract there if he comes in and does kind of what he should do and operate at a pretty, median average quarterback level, like I think it can then be hey, I get my extension and I stay after my rookie contract,
Yeah.
because it's the division. Like there is massive production ability available there. Now, the Will Levis thing, like I'd agree. I think for that one, Jay Cutler was the exact opinion that I was thinking on that. I think the one for Bryce Young is the fact that he's now historically short and historically light as a quarterback coming from the powerhouse that is Alabama, knowing that essentially all the guys that were before Jalen Hurts, Tua, and Mac Jones, it was, oh, hey, this is a situation now that's going on to where you have AJ McCarron playing in the XFL. That's the situation where most Alabama quarterbacks end up. They don't end up finishing in the NFL. They don't end up making it long term in the NFL. I think someone's gonna reach on Bryce. In all terms, it should be the Texans. The Texans should take him.
Yeah.
He's a lot better of a quarterback option than what they've had in the building since Deshaun's left. And you shouldn't have to worry about a massage issue or anything like that. I think Bryce is a good guy. I think he's, a solid, bang up, stand up guy, and, coming out of Alabama, pretty polished, and is a good face of the franchise as a Heisman winner, as a guy who's gotten it done. But I don't think long term he's going to work.
I agree with you.
I don't think long term Will Levis will work unless he ends up with an established franchise. I think the Vikings would be a good fit for him, but he wouldn't end up there. It then is a situation for Anthony Richardson. It's like, well, where could he go? Well, if the Panthers reach on him and take him at 1, then he has the pressure of being a 1 when he's not a 1. And then we get into a situation where it's a Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray type situation where it's like, well, we reached at 1. Like we hope you're good. Like we hope you make it. And so for him, like I hope he doesn't get thrusted into that situation, because that could be the worst thing for him. It's like, well, we picked you at 1 and now you're supposed to be a 1 level guy. And he's like, whoa. Like I'm not a first overall pick. Like that was my big thing with Mitch Trubisky. It's like people are giving him saying like, well, you're a number 2 overall pick. And it's like, he didn't decide to be number 2 overall.
Yeah.
He didn't decide for the franchise to mess up and trade away to get him. Like
Right.
for him, like he overly produced than what most people thought he would coming out of college. So for Anthony Richardson, it's like, well, what does he need to do? Like he needs to come in and be semi-athletic. He doesn't have to be a great thrower of the football, but like do it semi well, at least get it to the receivers. But if he goes to the team like the Falcons, you mean to tell me that wouldn't be a great situation?
Oh, it'd be perfect.
Indoors.
It'd be perfect.
It'd be perfect. That would be a great fit.
And on Anthony Richardson, he to your point, he doesn't need to learn how to be an athlete. He needs to learn how to be an NFL pocket passing quarterback, and to be able to say, okay, 5 to 6 times a game, you can go out and be Anthony Richardson. You can be this Cam Jackson, as you've dubbed yourself, combination of Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson. But sitting behind a guy like Taylor Heineke, or sitting behind a guy like, I'll just give you another example.
Desmond Ridder is not the starter. Taylor Heineke should not be the starter. For Anthony Richardson, this is hey, dude, we're bringing you in.
Have you thought about
You got
this?
3 years. You got 3 years. Go ahead.
Have you thought about this? What if he gets drafted by the Seahawks? Seahawks have the 5th overall pick. What if the Seahawks say, okay, look, we signed Geno. They front-loaded his contract for the first 2 years. They look at it and they say, look, we believe
third year, full reigns.
There you go. I mean,
that would definitely work.
And Geno's a career backup. He's been in the league since 2013.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, okay, stop.
He is a starting level talent guy.
You know damn well he's a career backup. He's been a career backup his entire career. Don't even give me that shit.
He started most seasons with the Jets, but he played with the Jets when the Jets were shitty.
But one thing that I will give Geno since he's been in the league for forever, this is now year 11 for Geno. He understands the game. He understands it from a molecular level standpoint. He knows how to play quarterback. He's a very high completion percentage guy. He even showed flashes of athleticism.
Which is why he got a competent coach in Pete Carroll, which is why he had success, which is why it's going to be leaded success for the next 2 years, which is why that situation would be really, really good. But for them, I think they shouldn't. Like, I think it would be smarter for them to trade their number 5 pick and get other picks, because I don't think this is a draft for them unless they're going to get a defensive lineman that they think is going to be there for the next 10 years. Then there's no reason for them to stay at that number 5 spot.
Well, we can go back and forth all day, but we are out of time. This has been Say It Like You See It. Join us on Friday for more breaking news. Probably going to be something out of Green Bay. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm not saying what I think I know, but I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. There has been a lot of speculation about Aaron Rodgers, so we'll get into that on Friday, as well as more topics from around the NFL in free agency. As always, you can like us on Instagram at Say It Like You See It Pod. You can follow us on TikTok. It's been blowing up thanks to Mighty Q over here. Been getting the crowd involved and some people back and forth. We've some healthy debates, right? If you want to call them that.
I don't deal with people that don't know the sport. So.
And you can find us wherever you find your podcasts. We're on Facebook. We are on YouTube. And you can find us, like I said, anywhere where you get your podcasts. From Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, the heart of Packer country, as well as Fargo, North Dakota. This has been Say It Like You See It on a Tuesday. We will see you again on Friday. Peace out.